Well, hello, this is Magic Mary, and this is my friend Darin. May I say your last name?
Yeah, you can say my last name.
Darin Dillinger, also known as the Queer Seer, and a man of extraordinary abilities where it comes to energy. Let's say that. And he did my, he did my time, my, what is it called?
Your birth chart, honey.
Yes, yes. And my birthday's coming up, and we just had a new moon, and I think you're the one who told me I was born in a new moon.
Yeah, you were. If I remember your birth chart correctly, you were born. You're a double Aquarius, so that means that
Yes.
you're. So when people are born on the same sun, like their moon sign is the same as their sun sign, that means that they were born on a new moon. And if it's total opposite for you, it would have been a Leo moon. If you were born on a Leo moon, you would have been a full moon.
Okay.
So so if you're if like if I'm a Scorpio,
Yep.
if I was a Scorpio, right, if I was a Scorpio moon, I would have been born on a new moon. But if I was a Taurus moon, I would have been on a full moon.
Okay. So I would have been a Leo full moon.
Yeah, if you had a Leo moon, you would be. But you're in a
Okay.
double Aquarius, honey.
A double Aquarius, and it was something with cancer and Pam's cancer and
Yeah,
how that
I
all.
think it's if I'm remembering correctly, your Venus is in Cancer, and that is the way you love. I think that's why. And then Pam's sun sign is a Cancer, so you see your love for her is a physical. It shows up to her physically. So, but
I
the big thing is the big news is for the first time in 20 years, Pluto is moving into an Aquarius, which is amazing. That means it's a collective. Pluto is a planet of collectivity. So
ah
it was in Capricorn, and that's when we saw entrepreneurs and we saw a lot of billionaires because
right,
Capricorn rules money. So
right.
collectively, we saw a lot of billionaires. Now, this one, an Aquarius, it's revolutionary. So we're going to rebel against it. We're going to create new ways of living because Aquarians tend to rebel. They tend to create new ways of living. They believe in humanity as a whole and not individual humanity.
That's what we need, isn't it? The unity and oneness of the reality of the human race, that we're all the same, the laminin holding this together, the glue in all of us, literally in the shape of a cross, holding the all in all.
You are a true Aquarian. See, I'm an Aquarius rising. So
Mhm.
the Pluto is going to go to how I physically look, how I physically show up in this world. So it's going and but Pluto it won't change signs for 40 years. No, 20 years. Sorry, 20 plus years. It won't change until 2044. So I'll be
Why
old.
did why did Pluto get taken out of the planetary?
Okay, so that is astronomy, not astrology, but I can tell you the answer. Astronomy wise, it doesn't have the characteristics of a planet. Like I guess planets have to have certain criteria to make sure like it's a planet. What they're thinking, from what I gathered and read, they're thinking that Pluto is a moon to another planet that we can't see, that's outside of
Yeah,
our orbit. So it's
yeah.
actually it actually is a moon to another planet, maybe.
Okay. And that makes sense, even though I have no clue about astronomy really.
I
But
don't either.
but
I do know
but when you
astrology.
mix it with the astrology, but also like the astrological signs, like um I feel even as a almost 64-year-old woman with
Yeah.
no uterus that something is being birthed in
Oh
all of
yeah.
us.
So Pluto is a planet. Okay, so about 3 years ago, like not to get politically involved here, but 3 years ago,
No, we can a
Pluto,
little bit.
but Pluto started changing into Pluto went into a return for America, and when Pluto goes into a return for the birth of America, it destroys social systems. So it destroys
So what's happening is
in the
because of
stars.
we don't really have
We don't have
it's
control.
happening. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I do a lot of birth charts. I will say this: when I teach birth charts to people, I use Donald Trump's birth chart because his birth chart is actually really relevant
Yeah,
to.
I'd love to know about that. I would honestly.
So Donald Trump's he is a billionaire,
Hmm.
and his Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is actually in the second house of money. So when he talks, like what he does for a living, is making money.
Right,
He has a lot of his placements in the 12th house, which can the 12th house is like the planet of diseases and unseen things. It's things that we don't see physically. So
right.
he can get under people's skin because
Wow.
of his. I think if I'm correct, his sun sign is in the 12th house. I don't have my birth chart. I mean, I don't have access to my birth charts right now,
Right.
but I do know that he has a lot of placements in the 12th house, and he has a lot of placements in the 10th house. And the 10th house is of power and of job and of fame and recognition. So
Mm.
what's most fascinating about Donald Trump's birth chart is that um, a couple of years ago, well, when the January 6th,
Yep, yep.
when that happened,
2021.
when that happened, his birth chart, his north nodes were making a turn in the 10th house, meaning he was coming on a north node return. So his birth charts, and like a lot of famous people, like they did a birth chart for Ruth uh RGB,
Yep.
Ruth Ginsburg. She When she passed away, she made a full circle. Her birth chart made a full circle. Her whole
Wow.
north node, she had her Pluto, and her north node was like close to it. I might be wrong which planet, but it was her north node and another planet, and it had it seamlessly, meaning that she ended a period of her life.
Hmm.
So a lot of the times when celebrities die, people go into birth charts. I know I had a friend that went into Matthew Perry's birth chart, and it showed like that things that could happen, like it could predict your. I'm not saying birth charts predict your death, but it would show up in your birth chart. And a lot of people don't realize that like the day that you met, let's just say the day you met Pam, you could do a birth chart on that, and it'd show your relationship and how your relationship is.
Sparks. Yeah.
September 11th, a lot of people do birth charts on about September 11th because
Yeah.
it shows in the
Yeah.
birth chart.
Wow.
So
That's
so
incredible.
I like, let's just say that I know if I'm going to have surgery on a date, or if I'm going on a
Right.
trip on a date, I will shoot a birth chart and see what's that going to look like for me.
Right. That's what, back when, was it Nancy Reagan that was really into birth to her?
I don't know if I'm too I hate to say this, but I'm too young to remember Nancy Reagan. Um I was born
You
during
are.
the
I'm sorry.
I was born during her like Ronald Reagan's administration. So
There you
I
go.
only
Well,
I
let me
don't think.
share because I was 20 when in 1980, and I literally wrote my in my diary that I was keeping at the time that I thought the end of the world that it was the end of the world as we knew it,
Well,
and
I mean, you might not be wrong, because here's what happened back in 2020. I mean, 2020. Back in 2000, people
right,
thought the end of the world was coming because the computers weren't going to switch
right,
over. But
Y2K.
yes, I that was a great time to be alive. I'll never forget that time. It was the greatest thing in the world. Um,
Tell me what made it so special.
for me, I
Yes,
loved it
I
because,
love
like,
that.
I was I was a was what was I was a freshman in high school. I was a freshman in high school when that happened,
Okay,
so I'm old enough to remember. And I remember, like, I'm a huge pop fan, so I remember TRL and the Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears and NSYNC. All of these people were at the TRL moment, and everyone, like, I remember Best Buy had a sticker on everything. It says, "Make sure you turn off your computers at before midnight," on
right.
because they were afraid that if you left your computers on, it would blow up, like the world would shut down or something. Um,
Wonder what really happening. What reset was happening
well,
at that?
here's the thing. A lot of the times, um, there was one calendar. I don't think like a lot of the times people just were talking about how they weren't using calendars. They were just saying the calendar on the computer wasn't going past the state. However, my thing is, I think that we went through a different dimension. We went to like the
We
end of time.
did probably.
Because here's the thing, I think it happened in 2012 because in 2012 the Mayan calendar ended, and
Yes.
then I remember where I was when it ended. I remember I had just moved to California. It was my first Christmas in California, and I felt a shift. But if you notice, things started looking different after 2012. No offense, but Britney Spears started looking different. I mean, I'm not saying she's a clone or anything, but like people and the way we
Yes.
perceived music, the way we perceived entertainment, the way where our focus was away from where.
2012 was a big year for me as well. We left organized religion at that point.
Okay, so see, a lot of people, things changed. Like in 2012, I moved to California, but
Hmm.
I was going through my Saturn returns, which is another astrological phenomenon that happens to everyone between the ages of 27 and 30. So major life changes happen. So everything, I think everything shifted in 2012. A lot of
Mm.
my friends think I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but I'm like, you know, that's what
No,
that's what the Aquarians are. Like the Aquarian risings, Aquarian suns, we think outside of the box. Like what I liked about you when I first found you on Ellen was
yeah,
that.
tell me
So
about how
here's
we
the
met.
thing. Astrologically wise, Aquarians go, they start doing something trendy before it becomes a fad, before everyone gets onto it. Like I remember being in Ohio where I was raised. I wore nail polish and like glittery nail polish, not like black nail polish, but glittery nail polish and eyeliner in 2002
Wow.
before any guy, and I'm not trans, I'm a gay man, but
Right.
I did this before it became a fad. And then all of
Right.
a sudden it became a fad. And then I got over it. I'm like, I'm not doing that now because I've already done that.
Right.
You are like, as an Aquarian sun, you started rapping to, Missy Elliott as a karaoke. And look at how many people after you've done that. So usually I always say, watch an Aquarian. Watch what they're doing because in years from now, though, everybody else will be doing it.
Huh. That's
So so you have to think you were probably doing things before the mass majority people were doing it, and then all of a sudden everyone's doing it, and then you've already moved on to the next big thing. You've already
yeah.
accomplished it. Like that's the
Right.
thing. So I always say watch an Aquarian, and I'm always interested. I would love to see a president that's an Aquarian, a president, because we haven't had them. We have not
Mm.
had an Aquarius president. We've
Ever.
had Barack Obama's a Leo. Trump is a Gemini. Biden is a Scorpio. I'm trying to think. Who else? President Bush. I don't know, but we've never had an Aquarian. We
Hmm.
haven't had and the Aquarians to me represent humanitarian. They represent the greater good of people. So you would want an Aquarian because they would work for the people. But in all honesty, you probably would never see an Aquarian because they're not deceitful or deceiving, and you have to have that. You have to have that, and like even though who I'm not saying anything against politics or anything, but I'm saying that you have to have that. You have to have some kind of mistrust.
So
And
Trump and Mary as VP.
so you're saying that you want to be the president or you want to be VP?
VP.
You want to be VP? Okay.
Yeah. Well,
And
what I'm saying is there would be that
and
blend
then your what is your slogan? Doesn't all the politicians have a slogan? Can say you better work it.
of.
That could be your slogan.
Yeah. Or
But no, I when I found you, and I think it was 2018, if I'm correct.
yes,
That's
it
when
was
you were on. Okay,
2018 when I
I had
was.
just I had just had my skin removal surgery. I had just been recovering. I could not get out of bed, much to like I am now, but it's a different situation.
Right.
I found you, and I had like very little hope. And I remember, and back in 2003 when Work It came out originally, I was the one that knew the whole. Um, I knew all the lyrics.
Let
So
me
to
hear
see,
it. Come on, let me hear the first part.
um,
Is
start
it
me off.
worth it?
Okay.
Is it worth it? Let
I
me
love
worth
my
it.
favorite part is when she goes, call me before you name, call me before you, call me over before, or something like this. I like, my favorite thing was when she's like, I need to shave my chocha. You know what?
Oh
Like, cause
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
th-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because like, here's the
But
thing. There's
is it
so
worth
many
it?
different,
Let me hear
like,
it.
what I did, I'll never forget this. And I'm sure you know this. Um, Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram, one of them had a thing where you could play music and then you could reverse it. So when she goes, when you reverse the song, when you reverse Missy Elliott's part when she says it, it
Yeah,
says it says the lyric. It
put your
actually makes
thing
it
down, flip it, and
and
reverse
reverse
it.
it. Yeah, it's perfectly like that. So I think that she's a genius. Like, I think that I don't know her birth chart, but I'm sure she has an Aquarius inside of her because she did things beyond what we were like. She wore a big trash bag in the '90s. Come on,
Right.
like, um, but Missy Elliott, and like, I just felt overwhelmed. Like, I think the biggest thing from you being on Ellen was you gave people hope. You gave people hope, and that is that anybody could do at any age whatever they wanted. And
Right.
like, you don't see a rapping older woman and in the middle of God knows, like in the middle of nowhere.
Goddard Park. God
Yeah,
knows
yeah, you're
Park.
right.
Yeah.
But like, the thing is, you did it, and you, like, people were drawn to you because they're like,
Mm,
well, if Mary can do it, I can do it too. And that's the thing. I think you gave a lot of people hope. I think Ellen saw that, and I thought that that was beautiful that you had that opportunity. And then, like, the thing is, you are just so unfiltered. So when she had you back on like the American Music Awards, and like, you were just doing whatever you wanted. You're like, don't you know who I am? Like, and like, people, people were,
and they did. They
and
did. A lot of people did.
people were just like, one thing, I've been on TV too, and
Yeah.
one thing I've learned is, I don't know what the Ellen show, but with the show that I was on, they like to script you. Like, they like to tell you, like, this is what we're going to do, this is how you're going to say it. And
Period.
they they do not like you going off their script. And I
I
saw that
didn't
you
have
went
a
off their
script.
script. You went off their script. I
No,
went
I
off.
had no script.
But yeah, but they try to like tell you, oh, you're going to ask them about this. You're going to say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, you just do your own thing. Because when I was on my TV, when I was on my TV show, they're like, you can't talk about your surgery like this. And I was like, oh, you can't tell me what to do. So I went off, and if you watch the clip on YouTube, they zoom out and they edit the way I talk so it's choppy, and that's why they were putting words in my mouth technically.
Oh my God. It was AI back then.
Yeah, it was like 5 years ago. 5 or 6 years ago,
Six.
because I had a major surgery. I dehisced. I was sewn up more times than ever. I had a lot of wound vacs on me. I was in the hospital, but they told
Right.
me that I wasn't able to talk about that because that would scare people in the public from having the surgery, and it would also make sure that the doctors looked bad. And
Ugh.
I said, and then when I found out, first of all, um, they never told me when I got on the screen that I was going to be seeing my surgery. So when, like, imagine you are on a TV full
No.
audience, and I'm completely, like, they say, and here's the surgery, and they show you naked on the operating table, them throwing you like a pancake, cutting you open, and then taking your skin and throwing it like a pancake. I mean, like, throwing it
No.
like a frisbee. And
Jesus.
I was freaked out. And so at that point, I'm like, well, if they're not going to tell me this, then I want to do my own thing. And I went off script. I said, listen, 90% of people that have this surgery become dehisced. 90% of people that has the surgery that I had have problems. That's more than half of people. And I'm not trying to scare people about the
But the
surgery.
reality, it's like the same thing with, if do you realize what's going to happen when you slice and dice certain
Right.
parts of you,
So
you
what I
it's
loved
going to,
about you was I saw that rebel side, and you're like, you know what, like you, like you would be the type of person that would have little like what are they called, like those little bobbleheads of versions of you, and you'd pass them out to people. You'd be like, here, take my little bobblehead, and like
that's a
you
good
were just
merchandising idea. Have a
yeah, and like
Magic Mary bobblehead.
and then all of a sudden you shake it and you go, is it worth it? Is it like work it? And then you know, it'd be cute because you're the type of person that yeah, you know what's going on in the world, you know what they want you to do, but if it doesn't sit well with you, you're not gonna do it.
There you
You're gonna
go.
stay true to yourself,
Yeah,
and
thank
I
you.
think that's a lot of the reason why I'm going to say this. I think that's a lot of the reason why Ellen didn't have you back because you weren't going to follow what she wanted in the show. You were speaking your truth,
Yeah,
and a lot of people and living here in LA, a lot of people don't like people that speak their truth. That everything is scripted. Everything has to be a certain way because the image of LA, like a good example, if you look at pictures of LA, people are like, "Oh, it's so pretty. It has palm trees and clean." No, it is the dirtiest, most smelliest city I've ever been to. And
San
the
Francisco's pretty bad
Oh
too,
yeah,
they say.
San Francisco's horrible. I went to
Ugh.
San Francisco and lasted 24 hours. I literally made my best friend. I said I went on vacation. We were going to San Francisco. I said I want to do two things while I'm there. She goes, "What is it?" I said I want to go see the Golden Gate Bridge and I want to go see the Full House. That's it. And then so what we did was we drove up one day. The next morning we went to the Golden Gate Bridge. We were on our way, and I said I'm ready to leave this place because this is dirty. And she's like, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Let's go find the Full House." She pulls over. I get out. I take my picture of the house, and then I leave, and we come back to LA.
Wow.
But a lot of people
Wow.
don't realize. I didn't realize this, but between LA and San Francisco, it's completely cow fields. It's all cow fields. Like it's all country. We
Mm,
went through, and a lot of people think that LA is just a city that's like really glitz and glamours. The parts that you see on TV are Beverly Hills. That's what you see, and you see one section of Hollywood Boulevard. The rest is made up. The rest
yeah.
you don't see. And it's sad because a lot of people out here like you realize the real Angelinos, the people that were born and raised here, because they're very quiet, they're very laid back, they don't get upset about anything. But it's the people that have moved here, the transplants as we call them, and they get mad. They get mad over everything. And here's the thing: imagine everyone from a small town, all the small town people, and the ones that think that they made it, all moved to a big city, and they feel entitled because now they can say they have lived in a big city. And the thing is, they have six or seven roommates.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. To live out here, you got roommates, and you don't
Right.
even have any privacy. So at what point, like I'm staying in LA right now because of my medical issues, but I plan on leaving. I
Mm,
actually my goal is to I want to write my memoir, but I also want to get an RV, and I want to travel. I want to live in an RV, and I want to be kind of like very nomadic. Like
mm,
just go and like it's kind of like imagine paying it forward in each little city. I want to get to go to the city. I would love to have millions of dollars because I would get into an RV and I would go to small diners and I would get to know the waitresses and then I would give them a big check and then leave that town and go on to the next town because when last year was no 2 years ago the hospital was on strike and I was sick. I was in the hospital and
oh,
all the EVS people, all the cleaning people were gone. So they had no cleaning people at the hospital and you don't realize how the smallest job is impacts the whole hospital. So I always tell people, when you're taking an Uber or when you are on the phone with, a person that's helping you for your T-Mobile or AT&T or something, ask them how their day is. Ask your bank teller how their day is because they're giving you a service, and more than likely they're going to be extra nice for you, and you don't know what you're going to get. You might not get anything, but at the end of the day, a lot of people, like when I'm in the hospital, I talk to my nurse. I'm like, "How are you doing today?" And they're like, "Are you
Yeah.
talking to me?" And I said, "Yeah." They're like, "Why are you asking me?" Like, I feel seen, because a lot of people overlook a lot of people overlook things like no job. My one friend, he's dating someone, and his partner has a nice big job, but he works at a cafe, like a small
Yeah.
cafe, and his partner, his boyfriend, said, "You know what? It doesn't matter what kind of job you have. You're still doing it." Because I think so many people, it's like being in elementary school. We all want gold stars, and when we get out of school, we don't get gold stars. We don't
Mm.
get, like, and everyone is trying to be the best of the best because they want the recognition, because we're taught we need gold stars. So, like, if your job is an EVS person, you can contribute. You know how many times, I'm from a small town in Ohio, and I was always taught, you give your bus driver a Christmas gift, you give your mail person a Christmas gift, because they're giving you a service. And I think
Right.
I think what I sometimes wish, in the middle of the night, I sometimes wish, I was like, one day I just wish all the phones would just shut off, and like everyone would have to do it. I hadn't been to a concert for over almost a decade, and I went to see Taylor Swift. I'm a huge Swiftie. I love her. But when I went to the concert, I was disappointed because everybody and their mother had their phones up, and they weren't recognizing the moment.
Right.
And
They were trying to record it instead of experience
And
it.
and and, and one artist, I don't know if you know this, but one artist bans cell phones at their concerts, and then at the end of the concert, you get um your phone back, and you get a link to professional pictures that the people took for you. And you know who that artist is?
No.
Garth Brooks. Garth
Really?
Garth Brooks in Vegas. His show in Vegas, you're not allowed to have. My friend went to the show. They took their phones, and then at the end, they got an email with professional pictures. And Garth Brooks is also actually one of the only artists that is not on streaming services. He took all of his music catalog off of all streaming services, so you can't stream Garth Brooks's music. You have to buy his album. You have to
Wow.
listen to it in his CD player. So,
Huh.
I mean, like, those are things that nowadays kids would freak out about. Like, if like people didn't have their cell phones, they would be naked. I
Right.
I I went off about a week ago. I didn't text anyone. I was just in my thing, and I realized how peaceful it is. I mean, yeah, it's a pain in the butt for the first 24 hours when you don't have your phone, but at the end, you experience life. You're not watching life. You're not watching life. You're experiencing life.
I wonder what was going on. Maybe there was something because during that new moon, this
Yes.
111, the thought was that you should be, letting go of all that stuff in the past and trying to uh, think of being present,
Well,
being
so
observant,
so new
not
moons So new moons are about bringing new energy in, and full moons are about letting go of things.
yeah,
So new moons on a new year is about
yeah,
bringing new energy, new mantras, new ways of thinking in life. And then the
that's good.
full and so with a new moon, it's always about new energy. So what
Right.
can you do new? And the moon is on a 28-day cycle. That's why we have 30 days usually in a month.
Well, that's why the calendar's really screwed up.
Yeah, we
There's
could.
time is really relative. It's weird, isn't it?
Yes,
Time
I've
because it
watched.
should be 13 moons.
Yes,
It should
I
not
watched.
be
I
a
I
blue moon.
I I
It's
figured I figured out how the algorithm works on Instagram. So let's just say I like something, okay, and also like you like all my posts. Okay, so Mary, I'm watching a Taylor Swift video, da 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 da, but you're
Yes.
liking all my posts. So guess what? In your feed, that video will pop up because you
Yes.
follow me, and they're thinking, oh, if her follower, if there's someone that she likes is watching this, she's gonna like this. So half the time I see videos of my friends, and I'm like, why am I watching this? And I realize, and I figured this out because all of a sudden my friends send me the Taylor Swift video. And
Ah,
I said I watched it 30 minutes ago. They're like, well, it just popped up. So that's how you know. That's how
I
you know.
see.
So basically if you're following someone that is watch like if you like a person that likes Missy Elliott, right? Then all of a sudden it's going to show up in your feed because they liked it and they think that you're going to be interested in something that is. The reason why I brought that up is about yesterday I watched a video on Instagram about how we should have 13 months for the time, and I was like, "Huh, Mary, did you watch that video too?"
I
Because
don't know. I
but
might
like the
have.
thing is, they broke it down saying that to have an even amount of time would be 13 months, and I mean 13 months, and also um, like when they were talking about astrology and astronomy together,
Right.
like
Right.
every astrological sign has about 28 to 30 days in the
Yep.
sign. It's usually about 30 days. However, people don't know this. We're in Aries season. If we're going based on the constellation, we're only in it for 3 days. So Aries season would only be 3 days long. And then Sagittarius season is actually like 28 days. Like so like
Yeah.
it varies. So to even it out to make time irrelevant, they cut it down to 12 months, and then
A
I
leap
also saw
year. A
I
leap
yes,
year.
I also saw this. Okay, if you look at the calendar and if you do like side swipes, like so 12 plus 1 is 13, 11 plus 2 is 13,
Right.
10, like so it all equals the kill clock. If you do the diagonally, they all equal 13. So the clock's actual number is the 13.
Wow. Ah, I think that's interesting. I really do believe that is got stuff to do. Like you were talking about 2012 and the Mayan
Yes.
calendar, and they're talking now. There's somebody that I am friends with on Facebook and Insta, and her name's Kimmy, and I share stuff. I don't know if you see because I
Um,
share it,
I
and
might. I
and
don't
and
know.
she also has a moon goddess, moon child madness or something, and we share things like north of the sun and certain things that we share. Circle of women. It doesn't have to
Oh
be
yeah,
women,
I love it. I love it how a lot of people's okay, so a lot of my friends their menstruation cycle runs on a 28-day cycle just like the
right?
moon. And a lot of the women, a lot of my friends, every time it's a new moon, they have their period.
Yeah.
So like it's synchronicity, and also a lot of people don't realize this, and I'm sure that you do, but you might not. So the word lunatic comes from moon because the word. So when we have like a solar eclipse, like a full moon, there it's actual fact. Like if you look at it, you can Google this the hospitals are filled with more crazy people on a full moon because the
Right.
moon has energy. Also, heart attacks happen more on a full moon.
Right.
I also read somewhere
It
where
affects the tides, and we're mostly water,
yes,
and we got all kinds of stuff going on, in this laminin glue stuff going holding us
right.
together. So
So
yeah.
I just think that this is wonderful that you're having your own podcast now.
Oh, I'm glad that you can come and join me. I think we could have get a few conversations, because you have such a perspective and I have a perspective, and so I want to share,
Okay.
and I don't know exactly because So I went in October to LA,
Yes.
September, October, then January, February.
We met in the end of February. We didn't meet until February when you came back out here.
February. Okay, so that was February 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, I think.
Right. We
And
met
that
when you
was
went to the Grammys, I think, or we're going
which
to.
the Grammys, yes,
Yes,
the
we met when
2019 Grammys.
we met then.
No, so had you email how did had we
Okay,
messaged?
so what happened was I watched you on Ellen and I started sending it to everyone. I mean everyone. Like it was like recently there was these two gay guys that went off and about saying remember the girls, remember the girls. I went and
Uh,
investigated them. I'm a Scorpio, so I know their names. I know their dogs' breeds. The dogs are beagles. I know everything. So when I saw you on Ellen, I was like, I have to know who she is. And
yeah.
at this point, you had not been like, it had just showed on Ellen, right? So you hadn't got a lot of followers yet. You hadn't. So I was like, okay, this is my chance. So I DM'd you. I DM'd you and I sent you a message, and it took you about a couple weeks to get back to me. But you were just you had gone. Well, when I messaged you, you weren't
Did
big,
you
but
comment? Did you make a comment? Because people would
I
say you're my spirit animal, or I wish you were
I
my
said
friend.
I wrote you a very I wrote you I don't know what I said on your comment section, but what I wrote on your email was I was going through a dark period of time in my life and I had lost hope and I had lost all sense of will and like the ability to laugh and the ability just to realize life is fun. And watching you reminded me of how much I loved that song and how much it's okay to just be silly sometimes and just to be who you are. And you
Yeah,
gave me so much hope.
yeah.
And you messaged me back and you thanked me and we continued to message each other back and forth until I remember when you messaged me back because I screenshot that thing and I put it on my Instagram story and I said Mary, Funky White Sister Mary, that has messaged me, and people were loving it. And then I often tell people, I said, I'm like, people know that you're my friend, and I said, oh, my friend Mary, and they're like Mary, and I'm like, yeah, y'all know Mary, the Funky White Sister, the one that sings. All I have to say is the Funky White Sister that sang with Misty. And they're like, oh, I know her. And they're like, you know her? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, how did you meet her? And I said, well, I DM'd her. I
Yeah.
DM'd her, and because you were a source of light. I think that whenever someone finds someone, it's a calling. It is just their way of being a bright light for people. And I think that there are reasons why people become viral. And it's not because they got a lot of likes, it's because that time the universe, God, whoever says this person love needs to be spread, kindness needs to be spread. Like at the time,
Yeah.
no, not talking bad about Ellen, but at the time, Ellen was about kindness, and the world needed kindness, and that's why she went big because we all need that. You know how
Right.
many times? How many times do we turn on the TV and we watch the news, and it's so and so got killed, so and so got kidnapped, so and so's
Yep.
war, we're out of money. But if you turn on a piece of television and you're like, life is good. Life can be fun. You can do that. Like, you don't know how many people you've probably inspired to say, you know what, if Mary can do it, I can get up on stage and sing. Because
Yep.
I will tell you this, I was in high school. Remember, I in a small town in Ohio, gay boy in a cow field, graduating class of 63. And I would sing Britney Spears every single year for the talent show and every year I had a different dance move. Every year I had a different Britney Spears song. So about the time I became a senior, everyone was just suspecting me. And that senior year, I said, you know what? I'm retiring my Britney Spears. So I didn't do my Britney Spears. However, what I did do was go to college and at a cafe. And I'll never forget. I karaoke to "Toxic" by Britney Spears, and I did it with my zipper undone and at the whole time I didn't know, and and I and people have video clips of that. I think I got rid
Oh
of all the
my
video
God.
clips. There's no evidence that I ever did that. Um, but I remember that hope. You reminded me of when I was in high school. I was in FFA, Future Farmers of America, right wing Republican, very
Right.
scary. You don't be gay, KKK kind of stuff. I went to I went to FFA summer camp, and then um, I lip synced to Britney Spears, and I put a wig on, and I put makeup on, and I did it. And the camp counselors had to be my bodyguards because they were going to
Beat you up?
beat me up. But I was remembering what I saw in you on that TV screen was what I was back then. Someone that was fearless and themselves, and they were just here to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you were. You were here just to have fun. You were like, I mean, we never should take ourselves too serious. And you just represented that whole fun for all of us. You
Right.
represented, hey, I can do this, and it's really funny to hear you swear because at a certain age, at a certain age, we always see like, oh, an older person would never say shave my cha cha on that or chocha, and all of a sudden you
Eat
did.
it like a vulture.
Yeah, like those things are like, oh my God. And that's what makes you cool. You, like I bet you
Yeah.
100% of the time you get young kids that be like, oh my God, she's cool because
Because I
we
said pussy.
yes, but we get into the mindset that at a certain age you have to act a certain way. It's like it's like you're Peter Pan. You never want to grow up.
Right.
You're as
Amen.
old as you act. And because I'll be 40 this year, and
Forty.
I still think I'm 18. I still like I have no responsibility of being an adult. I have
Huh.
no and I think that's what you taught us all, to have a little bit of fun. Like life is too hard not to have fun. I think
Yeah.
that's that's where you shine. Plus, I love the evolution of Mary. I don't know if you noticed, but there's an evolution of Mary.
Tell me. I want to hear it.
Well, you live it, so that's why.
Okay.
Okay, so when I first met you, you weren't wearing you were wearing regular clothes, but then all of a sudden you became trendier with clothes. Then you cut your hair shorter. Then you dyed it different colors, and now you're like this beautiful hair. Like I'm the housewife. Like it's like the evolution of Mary. You
Oh,
know, like your what you started out and where you are now is a totally different thing. You may have started out as a karaoke rapping older woman, but now you are someone that's trying to make a difference in lives because when you're given a platform, you can do good or you can do bad with it, and you chose to do good with it. You chose to educate people because you have that voice that speaks for the people.
mm,
When TikTok was viral, I mean, I'm not on TikTok anymore, but when TikTok was good, I remember you having groups of people just coming to you and sharing their story. And like, that's what makes you a good person because you let other people have their time. It's like what I said about those people that are the EDS people. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a place at the table, and
amen.
I think a lot of the times now people don't want people to have seats at the table. People want to say this table is only reserved for this kind of person that's like this. I have friends, like I said, I have friends that range all the way. That's one thing about Aquarians. Aquarians don't care if you have like if let's just say that you're a white person, they wouldn't care if you're a black person. They wouldn't care if you're a Latino person. They wouldn't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. They're your friends because what I challenge myself is I have close friends that I don't agree with a lot of things with. But just because I don't agree with someone and what they believe in and how they conduct their life and doesn't mean that they're not a good person. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be sitting and speaking because the only way that we learn is through differences in opinions. Like,
Right. Everybody's afraid to say. what they're really thinking
Like
now.
I might not. Oh my gosh, let's not even start because I'm so angry at this new generation because this new generation wants to fix things that aren't broken. They want to break the
Right.
things and then they want to redo it. And people are like, well, how do you expect revolutionary change? I'm like, well, we could do it a different way. Humor, I was watching Will and Grace.
Yep.
Um, I was watching Will and Grace about a couple weeks ago, and I was watching Roseanne. And these jokes that they do on the show back in the early 2000s, oh my God, they would offend these Generation Z. Like nothing is funny anymore. You can't make fun of anything without people being scared and wimpy. And my one friend told me this that these kids don't have a backbone. Like when we were in school, I was harassed. I was trying to get killed. They brought a gun to school. They brought knives to school to kill me. And I learned how to defend
Because you were
myself.
gay.
Yes, and I was I learned how to defend myself, and I learned that I was a stronger person. And nowadays, I think that the younger generation aren't as strong and as they can be because they are we I don't want to say we catered to them, but we sheltered
Yeah.
them. We
Yeah.
sheltered them from because nowadays kids don't know. I remember going to Starbucks years ago and I think it was an LA thing because this 4-year-old threw a tantrum because he couldn't have a brownie and his dad just tries to buy out the barista to give him the display brownie because that's what the kid wanted. And I'm like, people have to learn, kids have to learn that is there's a no, there is
Yeah.
you're going to lose, you're
Yeah.
not going to have, life isn't fair. Because I think nowadays this younger generation thinks that if it's not fair, like you're offending me. One thing I hate about being an LGBTQ plus whatever alphabet numbers you want to add to it now, because I lost count.
I have
Um,
I am just LGB. I believe there's lesbians, gays, bis, maybe Qs, queers, but then
see,
all this other stuff, I don't know.
I
I
I
let's
I
not
think
go there.
I yeah, let's not go there. I feel like that. Um, it makes me angry because nowadays you can't say anything without offending someone in our community. It's kind of like if you say it, then you need to apologize. Like I had I'm at a skilled nursing facility. I have my door open and I better be careful about what I'm gonna say. But I I get really offended sometimes, and I know this is a personal thing. It's not nothing bad. That I asked the nurse, I was like, oh, so are you married? And they're like, I have a partner. And I'm like, okay, so when I think of partner, I think, okay, business partner. I don't think, and then I realized people are just trying to be polite because I'm like, you don't have to say partner. If it's your wife, say your wife. If you're gay, you're gay. It doesn't matter. Why does it have to be a partner? And I think everybody is like on eggshells and this
Well,
world.
I gotta now. I gotta just say that Pam and I, who are now going into our 40th year, 39, 40,
Oh wow,
in
good job.
1985, when we met, it was still considered a mental illness.
Right,
Okay,
okay.
so but I've never been comfortable with wife. People always talk about your wife, Pam, and it isn't even something that I always call her my partner or my bestie
But but
or
but but
my
but the key, but see, that's the thing. I think at my generation was the generation that's okay to say wife, it's okay to
right.
say husband,
There you
and then
go.
I think that at the generation after us now, it's oh now we're back to what partner, and we're back to like I don't want to get involved with like I
Pronouns.
yeah,
Oi,
like there's so
oi.
many there's so many things that you can be called now or identify as or
Yeah,
whatever you want. I
yeah.
mean, but the
A
thing is,
rooster.
but like the thing is, I think that this platform we could learn. I always tell people we could learn from our older generation. One thing I loved about me and myself is my grandmas were the closest. I called them 3 times a day until the day they died
Mm.
And we learn so much from the older generation, but no one wants to listen to them. I mean, now there's this big joke about they're boomers, and I'm
It's
like,
gonna be lost soon.
and
It's
I and
it.
I feel I I like, okay, gay pride, LGBT pride meant something different to me than nowadays. Like nowadays,
Oh,
it's one big party. And before, when I was growing up, we were fighting to exist. We
right.
were we
And
were
not be beaten up.
Right. We were fighting just to find a safe space, and your generation was a generation that didn't have our luxuries. Like I had a lot of luxuries that you guys didn't have. Like we were able to be seen in public and wear our hair, or have a rainbow flag. But if you did that back in your days, you could have been arrested, you could have been murdered, you could have been
Back when
beat.
Pam and I met down in Ybor City in around Tampa, Florida, uh, uh, I remember she herself had to do it, and I was, I didn't know her then, but we both, and this is the time of Anita Bryant and the orange juice and all of that, which you may not remember, but
Right.
um, it had to do with oh, the whole gay thing, and
Anita Bryant, wasn't she the Christian Catholic mother that
yes,
wanted to get
yes,
wanted
it,
like she got the pie in the face?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yes. Okay.
So, so we had to go run through the gauntlet of the Christians passing out the tracts
Pamphlets.
telling you you don't go in there, you're gonna burn in hell, all that stuff. So it was it was something that you had to like make a conscious decision.
Well,
I'm going in there,
I
you
want
know.
to say I want to say thank you for being what we needed at that time, because if it wasn't for people like you and Pam,
Mm,
my generation wouldn't have the luxuries that it had. And I think that pride should really pay more respect to the older generations, because nowadays kids come out left and right. It's not uncommon that a gay kid, or
yeah,
a bi kid, or a lesbian, or a trans, or queer. It's the thing is, we it's now a party with drugs and sex, and it's
yeah.
not about what it's come from. Like,
Finding someone you want to love and
right, right. Like, so here's the thing.
yeah,
When we just had the Martin Luther King Day, we just had that. And that their culture, the black culture, is still trying to fight to exist. They're like, in my mind, out here, they still keep it to their heritage. They still keep it. Gay people just take it and make it one big party. Like, that's the thing. I was like, we have something to learn from other generations, because you know it, we're comfortable. Like, I have to say, as a gay man, we are more comfortable now than what we were 20 years ago.
mm,
However, we shouldn't be picking apart, because we became our own bullies. There's a thing in the gay, like, not so much lesbians, but so much with the gay community. We were bullied and bullied and bullied for all of our lives, and then we got older and we became, because we were told we were not man enough, so we had to be more successful. We told that we were going to always be girly, so we became bodybuilder, masculine looking men.
yeah,
And the
mm,
thing is, we then now turn on our own kind, and we bully our own kind because they're not man enough. You're not worthy enough. You can't be gay enough. You're not a gay man because you don't look this way. So I always say we need to start loving, like, because we always promote love and diversity, but we don't even know how to love our own community.
or ourselves. Well, that's the thing. How many people don't love themselves because they were they were bullied their whole life, or that
Right.
because I remember, okay, we can go there a little bit. I was until I had my tonsils out,
Oh,
I
wow.
was a skinny kid. As
Okay.
soon as I had my tonsils and adenoids out, I was a husky kid. My mother, we went to diet workshop. I was humiliated by
Oh,
public weigh-ins. I mean, You have such a pretty face. If only you could lose weight. You could do it. You could be musical. You could do all these other things. But, all I wanted was sugar because I couldn't have it.
Right. So, like, the thing is, I think there is a lot that we need to sit back and redo. I think that this generation, this newer generation, is trying to, like, I really don't get some of these things. Like, I just
Hmm.
get really disappointed because we forgot to laugh. We have forgotten to laugh, not just at ourselves, but
That's
everything.
why what I did was at the time, the world laughed together. There
Right,
was like a unity of laughter. And at the time, I do recall there was a huge solar storm, and they showed a picture of this really large, and over to the side was this other one, and I like felt like this other one. I was felt like this like burst of. I just felt like
right,
I could heal people. I was
right.
like on
Because
fire.
because I think your gift among many is the ability to heal people. And I don't know if you ever watched that movie Patch Adams with Robin Williams, and
Yes.
this and his ability to make kids laugh through sickness helped and healed them. Your
Yeah.
gift is your music. Your
Mm.
gift is how you use that horn. I
Yeah.
mean, like your shofar. You really know what you have, and when people use their gifts for good, they are rewarded.
Oh, you have just quoted me without quoting me exactly. When you give of the gifts that you've been given, that is when you truly bless someone, and by blessing,
Right.
you are blessed. It is so reciprocal. It is like
But
instant karma or
But the
something.
thing
And
is, the sad part of it all is when you're such a good person,
uh,
you become a target for the darkness because you are the light. And there will be people and places, well, not places, more people and things that will want to bring and take advantage of you because they see the good in you. And that is the sad part. I've had many instances, and I'm sure you have too, where we have fallen under our good hearts.
yep, yep, yep.
I had I
We're
back
gonna save that the whole thing for a whole nother
uh, but
another
the thing
time.
is,
Be-
but my thing was
Thank you.
I had an instance when I was a good person, and I um I I befriended a person that was what I thought was a wonderful person, and he turned out to be a really bad person in my life. And
Yep.
I had to pick myself up. And this is
Hmm.
not too long ago. This was about 4 years ago. Um, and the thing is, I still, I don't like to regret anything in my life. I like to learn from my
Yeah.
life. And I, even though that person's no longer in my life, and I do think about that person quite often, I'm thankful because I learned something that I would have never have done, and that is how I can persevere through the darkness.
There you go. And darkness is the absence of light. So bring our love, bring our light, and
Yeah.
darkness, please.
Well, Mary, it is almost time for my next medication.
And it's
So,
time that way my closing remarks would be, Darren Dillinger, you're fascinating. I've enjoyed this conversation, and
I
I'd
love
like
you.
to do it again because we have way more to talk about.
Oh
We
yeah, we
never
do.
even talked about Hamburger Marys.
Oh my God, no, we didn't talk about that. I'll never forget that moment. Oh
All right,
man.
we'll
Okay,
save that. We
okay.
promise we'll save that.
I love you, Mary. You have a
I
one.
love you. I
You
hope
tell,
you sleep well.
oh,
I
I
hope
will. I hope. But tell Pam I said hi.
I will. She's asleep. She's already
I know
gone.
she's